So they set sail back across the Atlantic, and the captain of the ship plans on running the ship aground onto rocks so that the lifeboats can have everybody go into the water and find their own way. That's his plan. He eventually, though, finally, Holland and a few other countries allow 327 of them to come aboard, come on mainland. The other 600 eventually go back to Hamburg and are put into concentration camps. Okay, so the title of the book and the title of the movie both be the same. It's called Voyage of the Damned. I'd like for you to look at the book. If you don't get to the movie, look at the book. But it's a great read on our history. Just interesting. All the things that went on. This is 1939. They're trying to flee, realizing that the Third Reich is coming into power and that things are going downhill rapidly. These Jews, they sell everything they have to buy passage on this ship and then sail across the Atlantic. But anyway, it tells the whole story. Fascinating read, but also if you're not into reading, maybe the movie will, it's 2 hour and 20-minute movie, 2 hour, 40 minutes. But I just encourage you to get this. Really fascinating part both of German, Jewish history, and also American history. People have asked me, why do I go to Israel? Why am I a Zionist? And the reason is this. In 1938-39, nobody would take the Jewish people that were fleeing. All the countries get together and they say, well, we'll take a handful. Well, a handful's not going to help at that point. Better than nothing, I suppose. But nobody was willing to take anybody for the most part. There were a few countries, very few countries, that would actually take Jewish refugees. So I'm a Zionist, if for nothing else. I have said that the persecution will again happen. And when it happens, they have to have a place to flee. So that there is a homeland where they can actually flee to and go to. They didn't have that in 1939. So I'd encourage you to get the DVD and or the book, what's called Voyage of the Damned. Watch it, and it gives you an insight into American history, Jewish history, fascinating insights into the way we think and how that plays into how we treat others. Okay. Any questions or comments?
I can read the movie, the book.
I think the movie and the book try to stay very close to each other. I mean, there's obviously some license.
Yeah.
They take a few little liberties when you're putting it on screenplay. I mean, things you'd add, things you take away, like anything else. But I think historically, I think the book stays close to the movie. Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, Bill.
Right after World War I in 1920, the Belfast Conference established the matter.
Yes.
Had they have gone back there, they would not have said.
True.
Repeat what he said.
You're going to have to repeat what you said. So I heard most of it, but go ahead and repeat that. Stand up so you can say that.
The whole world listened to you.
Go ahead.
After World War I, one of the things, probably the most important thing that developed World War I, number one was the demolishing of the Ottoman Empire, which we will see shortly, reassembled itself. The second most important thing was that the Belfast Conference established the land of Israel.
Yeah, the Balfour Declaration.
Balfour Declaration.
Right, Lord Balfour.
Had they have gone back there,
Right.
they would not have suffered so greatly.
Very true in many ways.
And it's the same thing that it's hard to get somebody to leave the soft life that they're enjoying where they are and go to a land of dust and rocks and rubble.
Absolutely. That's why we had a very difficult time in the return, because when the German Jews and the American Jews have become and were in 1939 very affluent.
However, tragic suffering that they endured during World War II in the Holocaust finally drove them back to their land.
Yes, absolutely. And the reinstatement of the nation. The reason I mentioned this particular book and movie is because in March and April we'll be talking more about Holocaust issues as the Yom HaShoah Day begins, and also Israel Independence Day. Yeah.
I can't remember the author's name, but the book, quite some time ago, when I read this, and the author said in reality, World War I was fought to establish the land. World War II was fought to occupy it.
Good point. Very historically accurate. But here's what's interesting about this. This whole voyage was really a propaganda ploy by the German government. It's like, oh, you Jews are free to leave Germany if you want to. Any German Jew that wants to leave Germany is welcome to do so. They never had any plans on letting them actually leave. It was go to Havana, come back. So there was never really any intention by the German government to let them actually disembark and actually be in Cuba. So it was, I don't know if you've seen these before. It's in the movie, I think of the name of the movie now. Oh, the Boy with the Striped Pajamas.
Oh, yes.
If you ever want a really powerful movie, Boy in the Striped Pajamas. And the whole premise behind the Boy in the Striped Pajamas is that a German commandant's son sits and talks with this little Jewish boy who's on the other side of the fence. And the little Jewish boy obviously is wearing striped pajamas, which are the prison garments. And so the whole movie is these two little boys. And they don't understand the big picture of what's going on around them. They just think, hey, look, you're a boy, I'm a boy, we should be able to play together.
They're friends. Yeah.
You're a human being, I'm a human being. What's the problem? And they share things across the fence. They push things across the fence to each other. You know, in that movie, though, there's a couple of clips that were taken from German propaganda, and it's interesting because these clips were made where they're saying they're showing this to the German people saying and to others, you know, the Jews they're in these really nice places where they're playing soccer and they're having fun, they're having picnics, and the concentration camps are all just it's like a summer camp, and it was all just propaganda. There was nothing truth about it. It was all this they're out playing and having fun, and it's all just look at how they're not suffering, they're all just having fun. These were commercial type propaganda pieces that were just designed to be shown to say, well, nothing really bad is happening. That's all. So all I'm saying that to say is this: we have to be careful, because oftentimes it's easy to look at what we're fed and assume that what we're fed by others is truth. When I was in Israel, I would in the morning briefings. I got the chance to work with to be on a military base, and so we go to these morning briefings where they would read the newspaper to us about what was the Western world. What's the Western world in Europe saying about us? And we'd read these papers, and it would say, the newspapers, it would say, IDF soldiers kill Palestinian youth. Well, that sounds really cool. It sounds like IDF soldiers were out there, just had nothing better to do but to pick off some Palestinian youths. Never mind that the story really is that these Palestinian youths happen to be 22, 23, 24. They really weren't young. And they happen to be soldiers carrying illegal weapons. So you don't get the full story. You kind of get the headline. I'm just saying, at times with our media, we need to be careful, because it tells us what we want to hear or what they want us to hear. It's very filtered.
That just happened recently, where I heard on the radio they said an Israeli soldier is going to prison because he killed one of the Palestinians, but they didn't tell you that the Palestinians attacked him with knives, and he shot him after they tried to stab him, so he was like on the ground and he shot him. And it's like, like he's like at fault. And everything. He's a guy who just tried to murder him.
Yeah, we
You
have to
know,
be
so
careful.
it's very,
I'm just,
very crazy.
just word of caution. Yeah, go ahead, 1, 2, what do we do?
Well, just to show you how skewed it is, in 2000, when the Intifada started, I was in Jerusalem at that time, and we were actually having lunch in your meeting quarter in the Old City when the whole thing came about. When we got there, we saw, all the IDF soldiers that something big is going to happen today, and there was all this garbage. We were watching CNN to hear exactly what you're saying, and this big baldy roll, and Israel refuses to let the Palestinians have the Temple Mount and all of that. Well, the whole reason when Ariel Sharon went up the temple, the top of Temple Mount, and was fighting Arafat about it, was that Arafat said, oh, sure, okay, you guys can have the top, but we get what's underneath. And that's what the fight was about, because the Palestinians wanted what was under the Temple Mount so that they could get in there and get rid of any artifacts that showed that actually Israel had been there a really long time belonging to the Jews. But you never heard that on these news. They were freaking out, online. You got to get out of there. We're having lunch when this happened. We're here. It's not what you are hearing at all.
Right.
But, how that news got skewed, and nobody back here knew that the whole fight was about the fact that the Palestinians said, you can have just the top. We'll let you have the top.
Right.
So,
Good point. All right, thank you. Yeah.
What a lot of people don't understand is Nazism was not a political party, it was a satanic cult. And we have to be very careful when we look at things that are called political parties, even close to us, that are satanic cults.
Yeah. Well, we've said before. Yeah. Everything, evil is driven by the evil one. And so the evil one uses political systems to accomplish his purposes, clearly. So we'll leave off on that, and we'll come and